Many years ago, I had an opportunity to buy a book which was called Wonderland, a Fairytale of the Soviet Monolith. It was by a photographer called Jason Eskenazi. At the time, I remember talking to Jason about the book. I remember the book being, I think, available to buy. And for some stupid reason, I forgot to get it. And then all of a sudden, it was sold out. And from that day, I've regretted that whole process of not buying a book. That book for me, in my lifetime of being a photographer and aware of great photography, is probably, if I could put my favourite books in the top 10, that would be number one. The photography is magical. There's something about the whole process, and it is, every time you turn a page, there's something new and with something which hits your senses. That book you can get for about £800, even £1,000 on Amazon. It's sold out, first edition. But I know that Jason's going to reprint and do a second edition, which I will buy. In front of me, I have two books which form part of the trilogy, including the Wonderland book of Jason's work. I've got a nice little book, Departure Lounge, done in the same way as Soviet Monolith. And then I've got Black Garden, still wrapped, freshly bought, hot off the press, arrived a few weeks ago, but I haven't had the time, or I've not really known what to say about them, because I just know I'm going to love them. I've briefly skimmed through them, I haven't looked at it, so it's going to be another discovery for me, because I'm a fan of his work. As I said, Wonderland, Soviet Monolith was the first part. The Black Garden is the second book, and the Departure Lounge is the part of the trilogy. Going by the title of Soviet Monolith, that the first book was about his travels around Soviet Union, Russia, and whatever you want to call it. And when I get that, I will look at it and we can discuss it. Black Garden is his second book, where he's discovering the parallel lines, or the lines between East and West, where Muslim world meets the Western world, and the border lines and the country border lines. And it's a fascinating journey. It's a fascinating contemporary issue as well. And he's just trying to make sense of it all. He's coming out of the whole period of 9/11 and the war against Islam, and the whole pot of turmoil which is surrounding and the borderlands of Europe, and the war with the religion, sort of inverted commas, and the economic side as well. And I think he's just trying to make sense of the line between East and West, and it's an experiment of visual investigation and looking at these countries. And let's have a look at it. We're going to look at it in depth, and well, not in depth, but we're going to look through it in a minute. And Departure Lounge takes us back to the beginning of Soviet Monolith and Wonderland. It's a collection of pictures from his archive, and a sort of a book which ends the trilogy but also begins the trilogy, because it takes you back to the pictures and the whole journey of Wonderland. Now, I'm not going to do Departure Lounge yet. I'm going to put that away, and today we will look at Black Garden. I've taken it out once, and this is going to be an experience for me as well. So it is 184 pages. It's open spine binding. You could get it on Red Hook Editions, which is a New York-based publishing company, which is why I bought it. 8.5 inches by 11.5. 184 pages, 154 black and white duotone photographs, which I'm dead excited about looking. Now I'm going to peel it up. And I want to take it because I want to keep this in here, because it's very rare that you get such a very beautifully worked cover. It's got textures, got patterns to it, indented. All of this is, I don't know what the word is, where it's indented in. It's all handmade, obviously, or I presume. And then you got the spine there, and then you got the Red Hook editions where I got this book. I got this on pre-order before it came out, and I tried to turn the pages. There's a little tiny bit of, well, I see that there's some smaller pages within that, and they're just a little bit bigger because they pull out. That's wow, that's amazing. So it's a right little piece of artwork, this, isn't it? And it's heavy. So let's have a look through it. So I'm just going to take you to random 2 pages and just sort of get a perspective on it. Now, what I'm looking for is text. You can see, if anybody knows what printing in a darkroom is like, you get this black border which you can, when I was in the darkroom, some days I'd like the border, this bit of masking here in, some days I wouldn't. It all depended how I felt at the time. But what I'm looking for is some text to discuss where it is. So this makes you sort of fan around the book and opening and moving the pages to go and have a look. And he's let the pictures speak for themselves, creating a myth. Maybe just a little bit of text there, that there might have been quite nice, I don't know. Sometimes when you've got such a book like this, I don't want to be going back and forwards too much with it because I'm scared of breaking it. But if I have to keep going back with this, it's going to make me, and it's heavy, and it's just such a, it doesn't feel fragile, it just feels so beautifully made. I just don't know for me if having that there, I think, I don't know, it just needs to be part of that. It's just my opinion. So, okay. So let's look through it. I guess, you know, Jason's story here, I think, for me, is about discovery, isn't it? It's about making sense and almost infiltrating the world in the Middle East and finding out, without a bias, I guess, you know, he's investigating the cultural mix, the way people identify themselves, how East and West mix in this sort of passageway of countries from Turkey, Ukraine, right to even back to America, you know, and there's a lot of coverage within these shots. In Egypt, there's Israel, I think it's Syria, and so he's covered a number of shots in Greece as well. And I remember working in Greece many years ago, and I remember talking to individuals there who were and Serbian Greeks and stuff who were actually really paranoid about what they called the Muslim Bow, which was Turkey, Kosovo, Albania, surrounding the Bow, like surrounding Greece, and how it was sort of infiltrating Greece. And it is interesting, and I worked with a few bodies and organisations around that area there, and documenting myself a little bit of the change around there about 20 years ago, and it was quite an eye-opener. And although I have asked everywhere, I've met no one who has seen a sea on the west side of Europe. Herodotus, 450 BC. What I presume that this page sets off at page 78. Now I wonder if that's where Wonderland finishes. Wonderland seems to have more pages than 78. I've looked through it. In fact, I've never noticed that before. That's an interesting concept. So maybe if I look at the Departure Lounge, we'll start Departure Lounge in 250 or something where this stops. So it's a sort of continuation. So this is in Ukraine, isn't it? And there's always something magical about his work, which I absolutely love. There's something so romantic about Jason's work, which I just fall in love with. And there's a definite dynamics and beauty. And it all feels like a shot on a Leica. Just the depth of field and the sharpness range and just the way it's shot. It's almost very Cartier-Bresson style that feel. It feels like it's shot from something in the 1940s and 50s. You know, it's incredible. I'm a bit at lost which side to show you, but I think I'm just going to stick to this side because I think you should go out and find this. I think you should go out and buy it. That was Fifth Avenue. This is Madison Square, New York, and then we've got a sort of almost like a setup in Giza in Egypt with the pyramids and something like sort of cafe or conference or something like that. This is in Afghanistan, in Kabul. There's a lovely texture to the paper as well. That's amazing. Where's that, 93? This is an alternative festival in Israel. And this is Cairo, it's revolution anniversary. That's sort of Israel and Egypt, sort of two opposing factions as well, isn't it? It's interesting. I love this. He's very good at this. This is what I like about his work. You know, they've got this sort of in the back, maybe in the mid plane, there's a sort of guy there, and this relationship link he has in the composition he uses is very clever. He's very great. He's a really good design guy. You know, he loves his design elements, and he really thinks about forward and backward plane and how he interacts the planes and stuff like that. And it's very interesting. Look at that. What's this? Let's make some sense of this. This is a Gaza City training camp. It looks like a missile, doesn't it? This is almost a panoramic. This is in New York. This is Ground Zero celebration. And then, that's great, look at that, that's lovely. Look at the understanding here of composition. They're sort of bringing it together. It's how all the elements work in the shot, isn't it? It's working out how it all links up and how your eye flows around. A point of focus. And I guess the point of focus is on the left side there, isn't it? It's that plane there, that's a bit out of focus. And another great use of framework. He loves working his frame, Jason. He loves this movement around. He loves a storyline, a narrative with a narrative structure here. They've got that there. You've got these two guys here. You've got all this going on. This is in New York. It's the Passover in Eastern Parkway, Brooklyn. Ah, it's great. Look at that. Beautiful. It's in Turkey. It's a hazelnut harvest. That's so romantic. It feels like something from 1940s, doesn't it? Just classic reportage, old school reportage. Again, there's just the interaction with light and framing and movement and narrative. There's so much goes on in his shots. It can keep you amazed with that. And again, this is a great example, but also this, you know, it's so difficult to make great shots out of simple things, and the way he's bringing these elements together and just getting that passive quality out of the lady. And this is in a university in Afghanistan, Kabul. And then we've got This is in Bagram, I think. Bayram. This is in Istanbul. That's great. Again, that looks going back to the is that going back to the Hazelnut Festival there. There's a beauty. There's a beauty to his work, and I absolutely adore that beauty. That it almost gives you an additional. Just moving the back. It just gives you an additional storyline within his work. It just creates. There's something. It offers another experience within the storyline. He's challenging stuff and he's looking at stuff. And it's almost the everydayness, everything, the randomness, the stuff which exists, even though everything is going on in New York and everybody's mourning the loss of life. And the same in Istanbul or in Syria or wherever. And there's that, it's that experimental with the normality, I think this is about, you know, it's not trying to convince you on anything. It's saying, here it is. Make sense of it yourself. Again, this is the ticker tape after the celebration in New York, I guess, and this is a festival in Istanbul, Turkey. It's a massive contrast, isn't it? This is sort of association we have with Western life, and this sort of shrouded secrecy, mystical, sort of dark, sort of devilish in a way. And I'm not saying it is, I'm just saying there's a sort of the dynamics within it. It's all sort of shrouded, it's mysterious, it's in that way. And so is this to the other cultures, you know, and our Western culture is abstract and mysterious to others, and it's capturing stuff like this. You know, we go to a march and it's capturing the bits away from the normal stuff most people would catch, is looking for something to express and looking for something to sort of be different about within these pictures. And a great, you know, this is great use of the frame. It almost looks like the same woman almost, you know. It's you've got something going on with it. The workers here, and then you've got this line of people, and it's beautifully put together. It's loved. It's such a great shot, and I'm suspecting 35, 28 mil. Here he loves that wide frame, wide angle. Experiment with the forward and the back plane. He just loves complex narratives, and it's something you can learn from this stuff. You know, it's fantastic. And I think when I looked at Wonderland, it didn't really start off slowly, Wonderland. It started off at a pace, and every page was like, whoa, it was amazing. And then you get something else, and it would slow a bit, and then all of a sudden you get an image which would just blow your mind. And I think this book started a little slowly, and it's now picked up with the style I associate with Jason and his investigation and his construction of composition. And this is definitely, so well, that, you know, this is the sort of Jason Eskenazi for me. This sort of stuff, this is, and this takes some legwork, you know. You've got to be around to do it, and you've got to be on it, you know. You've got to be committed, and you've got to have a focus and a strategy and a structure. And this is Lesbos, and this is the kids and the families coming over, the refugees. That's a camel market, weird. Oh, they are camels, I thought they were horses. I'm not sure they're asleep or dead. I presume they're dead, or they're ready to eat. I'm not really sure. This boy and horse. Oh, and there's some beautiful shots there. I definitely would have liked the text. I don't really want to search through this. I want to see it. I want a bit of text. You know, have a bit of text, just the text there. And I'd be interested to see why he didn't put the text there. Because it is about shifting countries, and maybe it's not important, I don't know. But maybe because you're shifting a few countries, I want to see a bit of a dialogue to connect them a little bit, but maybe just for design it wasn't working. And it would interrupt maybe from the pictures, and maybe you'd have to make the pictures smaller. This is Jason Eskenazi at his best. This is the beauty, the simplicity, the construction of his work, and you know, getting stuff like that, it's just making it look like he got up in the morning and had a coffee and shot that. He might have. And this is in eastern Turkey, the Ardahan region, I think. He might have just got up, but it's fantastic. Again, look at that. That's beautiful. And it's a hard thing to do, you know, just trying to tell a story, such a complex story, and trying to work out how many pictures, what's the right pictures, what you're trying to say, what's the relationship with, say, the American pictures and something like what looks like it's in Greece, but I think it's Turkey. It's incredibly hard work to make sense of it all. And something like this, for example, which is in Cairo, and I think this is some of the riots and stuff, but it looks like a nothing shot, but actually it's so significant. And even though there's nothing really to sort of say apart from the stones, that it could be fog or something, but whereas you put it in the context of that, you can see and this is the West Bank, where you can see there's the sort of conflict. You can put it into some context, whereas that, it leaves you thinking, and it's a bit ambiguous, but the point of it is that it is ambiguous, and just for that being there says a lot. It's I can't explain it the way I want to explain it, but I think I get what he's trying to say. And this, I can't even. Oh, that's great. Look at these. This is just. There's some fantastic. I can't even show you them all. I haven't even got the space. But this, as you can see, it folds out and folds out and folds out. And it's folding out again. Now we've got a massive, beautiful, I'll try and do the panoramic. It's beautiful panoramic. Oh, it's just, I just love it. Absolutely love it. Beautifully set up, beautifully arranged. Horizons beautifully put in. And it almost tells a story. I'll just come out of this a little bit. So you've got, what have we got? We've got, I'm not looking at the caption, so there's the sea, and then we've got almost a different reaction here on the right side. But here, we open it out, and we're almost aligned with what looks like the refugees at Lesbos coming in, and then you got that, and then you take it into another context. It's almost a sort of a leisure place, even though they're all different pictures. That was my tape measure. I'm really struggling here. They're all sort of different pictures, but he's making it look like one, and it's just lovely, beautiful. And then we're going to back to Cairo and the riots. So this is a journey, and you know the thing about Jason's work is just non-stop. You know, you always get a quality narrative. You always get a joy, a sort of journey, and it's not a photography book of 40, 50 pictures. There's some hefty pictures in here. It's a hefty book. I just look at it. Look at this. Look at that. Look at the interaction here. Let's just come up again. How about that for a shot? The tone, the design elements, everything about it. The interaction between the couples. And this is the maker, isn't it? It's beautiful. Again, look at that, the couples there. It's just fantastic. It makes it look so simple. A great bit of editing there with the wheels. You know, there's so much to say about this book, and I can waffle on and I can make sense of it in my head. Whether it'll make sense of it in your head, I'm not really sure, but look at this. It's just phenomenal. Two sides of the wall. I guess this is tear gas. It's in Egypt and the Cairo. There's a love story, isn't it? It's just, it's so romantic, a lot of it, and there's a beauty in the chaos and a beauty in the surreal, a beauty in the normality, and I think Jason really strives for that, you know. He really works that. He's clever. He's a clever guy. Coming up with something like this and knowing what to do, where to go and searching for it and finding it and producing it and putting it into a book, and 3 books like these, you know, it's just phenomenal. And, you know, this sort of photography like this, you know, you've got the perspective here of the background, the foreground, the midground, and it's just wonderful. And it's just making stuff like this, you know, so simple, like taking and going to do a shot like that of the pollution in Greece around the Macedonian border and the refugee camps and stuff, and actually turning it into something a little bit more dynamic and a bit mystique, giving it a bit of mystique and using people and waiting for the moment, never mind just using them, you know. I've missed quite a bit out. I think you should go and discover this. I don't really feel I need or want to go deep into it because I'm not an authority in it, and I love visual stimulus. I love seeing how other people see the world. I love construction and complex narratives within shots. I mean, look at the context in here. It's madness. He's got a guy with a petrol bomb. Guys here with petrol bombs. He's got a football in the air. You've got the positioning of this guy here in between the sort of triangle shape of this guy. There's the bunting, feels like a celebration. It's just so much going on. It's in Istanbul, in Turkey. It's really interesting. And I just love the complexity of it. But it's the beauty in his framing as well. And that's what he's good at doing. And the rest of the pictures I'm going to show you have that quality. What does run through this book, there's a lot of loneliness. I get a sense of a lot of loneliness, you know. There's a lot going on. Look at the beauty, look at that. There's an awful lot going on, but I do see a side to it which is quite desolate. And sometimes the sort of chaos Jason has shown in the tranquility of things, and he's showing the peace through his pictures. And here you can see the Trojan horse in this sort of almost technochroma style panoramic shot. And there's a few more. We've got the celebration here in America by the looks of it, and then we move on to the streets of Cairo. This great shot, look at this. This is street photography. Look at the framing there. Look at that for a shot. It's capturing this. It's elevating street photography to and really taking it and putting it on another level in a way, and creating more mystique within the context of, one, the location, but just the capturing of people in their everyday lives in these places which are full of conflict or at the centre of divides and turmoil and religious turmoil and political turmoil. And it's capturing that sort of normality of life, but then at the same time making it very abstract and often quite a sort of sign of loss in a way of frustration. And look at that. Isn't that beautiful? What a print that is. Look how he's used the ball. It's sort of asking questions, isn't it? Just to get the composition right, you've got to, just the exposure, it's just phenomenal. Lovely low lights there inside the swimming pool. And that looks like an eclipse, doesn't it, in New York? But what's interesting, where is this? It's this space odyssey in New York, but that almost like the sort of Turkish crest, isn't it? A romantic. There's just so much romance in these pictures. It's unreal. There's a quality. There's a coming together. There's almost a love in each shot. Look at the contrast here. That is an executed shot. Look at that. This is Ground Zero. I've never seen Ground Zero shot like that. Look at that. There's some amazing photography in here. It's just a lovely coming together of some beautiful observations in some controversial elements of modern life. We assumed oceans would protect us from harm, and that's not the case. That's not the reality of the 21st century. Oceans don't protect us. George W. Bush, 2004. What a book. I look forward to opening Departure Lounge, which I haven't done yet. And I will do it on here in front of you, and we can reflect on it, and you can listen to my thoughts and what I think. This is a beautiful book, a great photographer. I can't wait to get Wonderland, the Soviet Monolith, on the camera desk and have a look through it. Thank you, Jason, for another amazing insight into your eye, brain, and travels, and thoughts, and vision. Keep subscribing to the channel. Please share this. Get everybody around it. You can buy this now. Literally, I looked yesterday. Jason's got the links up, and you can actually get this. You can buy them both together. You can buy them on their own. I would get out and get it. I'll put the links for the sales where you can buy the books on Jason's site and Red Hook editions, so you can go and have a look at everything. Thank you for watching. Thank you to Olympus for helping us out with the cameras. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you, Jason. Best wishes, mate.